That's right. And so I'm going to go live and then we'll play the song.
Why didn't Dove come on last night? Because I only came to the last
Come
one.
on. He was there.
Oh, because I was talking about him and he didn't. Okay.
But, maybe he was doing something else. He has
Or talking to
other,
somebody on the phone. Yeah, because he helps
yeah,
people.
yeah.
Uh,
So, yeah,
I can tell you one thing, he's not voting for Trump.
well, let's not talk about that anymore because we're live on Zoom, on YouTube.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, I
And,
can't do that. Yeah.
all right. So here we go. We
All
will
right.
hear a song and then get on with the reading of the teaching. Right.
Take a deep breath, sit down, my child. Why are your thoughts running so wild? Don't you know who walks beside you? Yeah. Don't you know that only love is true? Remember you're dreaming. Oh, remember you're dreaming. Yeah. Remember you're dreaming. Oh, remember you're dreaming. Yeah. Oh, wake up, wake up. You gotta wake up, wake up. Remember you're dreaming. Oh, remember you're dreaming. Remember you're dreaming. Oh, remember you're dreaming.
Remember not to forget to laugh, to worry about the future nor the past. But don't you know who walks beside you?
Beside you.
Don't you know that only love is true? Remember you were part of it all, and when you started to fall, you had intention. And did I mention that this tension is only a dream? Life is not all that it seems. There's magic dancing in between endless dimensions. I pick you up when you fall, I remember to call, but what did you go darling? You left the stall till I catch up, but we'll patch up the cracks. Don't worry about the future, the past. This moment is all that you have. I know you'll remember
you're dreaming. Oh, remember you're dreaming.
Yeah, I know you'll remember
you're dreaming. Oh, remember you're dreaming. Yeah. Oh, wake up, wake up. You gotta wake up, wake up. Remember you're dreaming. Remember you're dreaming.
Remember you're dreaming.
Oh, remember you're dreaming. Yeah. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists.
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing real can be threatened.
Yeah.
Love is all that there is. Remember you're dreaming. Oh, remember you're dreaming.
Remember you're dreaming.
Oh, remember you're dreaming. Oh, wake up, wake up. You gotta wake up, wake up. Remember you're dreaming. Remember you're dreaming. Remember you're dreaming. Yeah. Remember you're dreaming.
Remember you're dreaming.
Remember you're dreaming. Yeah. Life is but a dream. It ain't nothing what it seems. Remember you're dreaming. Remember you're dreaming. Remember you're dreaming.
That was great.
Love that song. Great song to play through the day today for Sharon. Good morning.
Definitely, I'm keeping that keyed up all day. So,
Yeah, go
Don't worry about
intermittently through the day, just flood it, because that's the thing. Like the right mind if we stay there and we're just in the awareness, nothing has happened. And all that's happening basically is the ego made the dream up. And it's never going to be a dream about love if the ego makes it up. But how can I see love right here? Well, it is right here, right now.
Yep.
That's
And
all there
remember,
is love. So it's kind of funny, and we can laugh. That's the whole point here. Just laugh about, the fact that we thought this was real, because it's not. There's nothing real about this. It's all a projection. And what I see out there is if I see the split, the outside picture, then I'm in the ego.
that's
If I
right.
see unity, then I'm in spirit.
And you have to ask the question, do I absolutely need another 4 years of this person in order for me to learn to forgive him and to love
Right.
him? Or can I do that right now?
Yeah.
Because if I can do that right now, I don't need 4 more years of it.
Right.
I just
Mhm.
need now in my mind to
Yep.
change my mind about it. That's what, having the, preferences is, it's okay. But that just also means that, I prefer to be in hell for another 4 years, no matter what happens. I
Right. But the thing
prefer it.
is, it's not up to me anyway. It's a story, and the story is unfolding for us. So we look at this as gift. We look at it as a gift, no matter what.
Right.
As
The
soon as
story has many different endings and
right,
many different ways that it could go. And the direction it goes is the direction I point it. So if I point my story towards love and forgiveness and joy, then that's what I'm going to see.
right.
Then no matter what, that's what I'll see. So, all right. Well, turning this over to you for on parents and children, Ken Wapnick, and maybe Ken has some enlightening thoughts for us. So I'm going to mute my mic and let you have it.
Okay. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm going through Parents and Children, our most difficult classroom, to teach myself how my children and my parents only had the best wishes for the character that I played, no matter how I was treated. Because the idea of the dream is that we look for our function. What are we here for? To awaken. Are we going to get caught up in our thoughts, or are we going to stay here right now and just be? And this is a lot about Bill's father and how Bill felt when he tried to destroy his office and how he felt unloved. But you see, he had to feel that. So his father was playing a part to help him. And that is exactly the way I want to see this world. I want to see this world as a world that's helping me move beyond my limitations to limitless awareness, because that's all that's really here. And, just trying to just make this real is really the ego's job, and it will do that. So, what Bill had done was he did what I did and every other ego does. He repeated the story about his father over and over. And that's just probably the way the ego, as Ken would always say, your parents didn't do anything because they're just actors on your screen. These are just acts in our consciousness, but none of it means anything. And that's the whole point. The outside picture is meaningless. It's what's inside. So when I'm in the wholeness, I realize that my children are these beautiful beings, but I don't have their life's longing for itself. They're not my responsibility because I was gifted them, and it was an absolute honor to be their mother. To be a parent is when I learned unconditional love. There is absolutely nothing that my kids can do that holds any kind of anger. I'm not made like that. I feel like your children are your gifts, but they're not special as I thought they were, because everything here is a gift. So Ken was talking last week about how we repeat over and over, and I am guilty of that. And what's happening for this mind now is the absolute gratitude for anybody that caused me misery in this dream. And the fact that they felt that they could do that was for them too. So it's kind of like, if this dream isn't for us, then why is it even here? Obviously, the lesson that we need to learn always is only love is real. And I heard that probably 20 years ago from Mary Ann Williamson. And, it's so funny because, Mary Ann and James Twyman, I was listening to James Twyman this morning, I guess it was 4 years ago when he was running against Joe Biden. And she was very upset. And she was telling Jimmy Twyman basically that, you know what he wants to do. And he's like, but we're not going to discuss that now because it's temptation. It's temptation to be the victim that we think we are, but we're all God. Where are we going to go if something happens? What could happen to us? Unless we regard our body, the me body, as us, there's nothing to say. So what Ken was saying, he was saying to Jesus, he told Bill what a specific application of what he was teaching his first two students and all of us in this course. No one is ever justified seeing oneself as innocent, unfairly treated victim. If we perceive ourselves that way, referred to again as a temptation, is because we want to be unfairly treated. Recall this passage, and I'm going to read the passage. But this is a really good thing. The temptation is a drug, and it's guilt. Well, what would everybody think of me if I was found out, right? Because down at the bottom of our consciousness, there's a lot of hatred, but that's fear of God, fear of love, fear of the essence of who we are and why we're here. So moreover, I want to read this because it's from workbook 166. He seems a sorry figure, weary, worn, in threadbare clothing, and with feet that bleed a little from the rocky road. He walks. No one but has identified with him, for everyone who comes here has pursued the path he follows and has felt defeat and hopelessness as he is feeling them. Yet isn't he really tragic when you see that he is following the way he chose and need, but realize who walks with him and open up his treasures to be free? So what's the big problem here? We are looking at this as victim and victimizer. And if we play in either role, we're going to hurt because what we resist persists. So moreover, we consistently maintain that we have been unfairly treated as a child. I'm guilty of that one. Sharon has always complained, well, you know what this one did to me? None of it was done to me. Actually, it's interesting. A lot of the story of my childhood is falling away. And that's what the promise is from the Course. Because the victim is something that, for this mind, I cherished. Because then I won't have God hurt me. I'm already a victim. Somebody's already hurt me out there. No. That's what we use as projection. So moreover, if we consistently maintain that we've been unfairly treated as a child, there's no way we can avoid unfair treatment when we are parents. Now, that's interesting because my children were very easy. And then when my youngest boy got ill from addiction, I was amazed that could happen because I was like a helicopter mom, And when that happened, I didn't have the Course in Miracles yet. So it took me a couple years into his disease. I was 49 when I started the 12 steps. And he probably fell into addiction at 40 when I was 46. I don't even know. I was going to different meetings, tough love, and I was like, well, that's not for me. I'm not about tough love. The thing about educating yourself when you have a loved one with addiction is to educate yourself, right? Because when it first came to my life, I didn't understand it. I knew that, my little boy, he wasn't a little boy at that time, he was like 16, would never have done that. But he was trying to escape anxiety. And that's what happens. And then I could give you another story on why that happened. But that's made up. Okay. But that was for him to give him, he is so humble. He's become the most humble human being. He has no interest in material stuff. He helps disabled adults. So you see how that benefited him. Because I always say to him, this is all coming from spirit, to care about people, the most vulnerable people. That's a telltale sign that what happened to him worked for him, right? He doesn't have the sharp edges of hate, and he refuses to have it. So, in that way, you can see how I'm learning. And my mom, who I feel terrible right now, saying anything but that I berated her, was such a good mom. She really was in every way. But she had special hate and special love for herself, not for me, because you're always seeing your own mind and what you're missing or what you're guilty of. You're not seeing your children. You can't see your children because you are seeing it from your ego and what you believe is true for you. But, the way I saw her before she died was my mom, and that's going to be 14 years. She was crying in her bedroom saying, bring back my baby. Now, that's something that she never said to me because when she had polio, I was taken away. And then I heard her mumbling, I wanted to be a good mom. And I think that was meant for me because there's 4 of us. But every parent that works with, if they have a couple kids, each time they're a different parent. And that information has come through psychology and most of all, Gabor Mate. He's one of my very favorite philosophers. And he has said that. So you see, when it comes to gratitude, today I'm going to speak about the fact that if everything's for us, we need to get really, really gentle with our egos because the ego is just plain fear. It's just scared. It doesn't even understand what it's doing. It doesn't know that we're not people. It believes we are, but we're always safe in heaven and we're in a mind and we're projecting everything. So the responsibility for sight is, can I be at peace no matter what happens in this character, Sharon's life, in every moment? So he's saying, moreover, we consistently maintain that we're unfairly treated. So what's happened when I think back about my boys was, see, I didn't really scream at them the way my mom did, but I did scream at their father. And I sometimes was raging like a nut because I was watching this human walk on me and the boys. And you see, my sons knew, they just knew at that time. It looked like I was a victim, but I was really both. It's not like I just sat down and said, oh, please don't hurt me. I'm a victim. No, I was brought up by a very strong woman and I'm a very strong personality. So yes, they saw all that. But the evolution of the character I'm playing is that when I moved to find the 12 steps, I was in Philly at 49, moved at 50, just turning 50. And I realized Spirit was just bringing me home. I had so many things happen from 40 to 50, and it was all for me. I mean, it was quite scary one day that I was walking in my classroom and the room went upside down. I didn't know that was my mind was breaking open. Our egos break open, some dramatically, some not. Some just thin out. I became catatonic at one point. I had to be in the hospital for like a night. I think it was one night because I wanted to go home and work. I have a very tenacious personality. When I want to do something, I do it. And, that's coming really from right-mindedness. Because most egos, they really, causing someone pain is so obvious. You cause yourself pain, right? So he's saying here, Jesus is telling Bill there's a decision-making part of his mind that holds on to self-image. And that is the truth. The self-image to the decision maker means something. So who's going to tell the decision maker to change its mind? It has to be me, but me with a capital M. And I could say, well, I've been doing this for almost 20 years, but here's the thing, there are no 20 years. So the nowness is all there's ever been. I've been dreaming a story about my character. And to the one thing I remember Marianne as one of my very first teachers, Williamson, saying is, do you want to be hard or do you want to be soft? And I do agree with her. At that point, I made a prayer. I want to be soft because all I felt was hate, for my ex-husband. And to work it out, I had to hear myself until I couldn't hear myself anymore, till I was disgusted by the whole story. Stories are meaningless. But in order to tell it, like the ego's doing that. And if we buy the bait, well, then we take the responsibility and say, oh, I just slipped. Oops, I forgot, right? Why should anyone accord an obvious misperception so much power? There cannot be any real justification for it because even Bill himself recognized the real problem by saying, how could he do this to me? The answer is he didn't. Now, this is kind of weird because I've spoken this, but it's coming up now. I met Liz Cronkite about 18 years ago, and I was still in a lot of rage about my husband. And all of a sudden, I don't know how this happened. I went to Florida. I was staying with that's when Jonathan lived there. And I had like an hour with her and as a coach. And she was saying basically something about the world. And I heard another voice say, well, nothing ever happened, but it was a very clear voice. And it came out because when I said it, the ego came back and I went, who said that? It scared me. I mean, how would a mind know that? Well, we all know. Nobody's special here. We all know that this can't be real, right? But now we experience, and that's all that I care about now is the experience of love. Jerry Jampolsky's book, Love is Letting Go of Fear, was a book that I read in my 30s. And I was like, wow, because I had a lot of fear. And, we're not used to fear as God's son. None of us are used to fear. So when this fear comes up, we want to get rid of it. We don't know how. We don't want to live our lives in fear. So Bill's father did this to himself and to the office. He did not do it to Bill. Whatever his father projections onto Bill, they were projections and had nothing to do with his son. Bill's part in it was claiming it was done to him. In other words, he made a connection between his father aggression and himself as a victim. And that's how the ego works. It's not like we're designed to not believe the ego when we're young or when we're still spiritual infants. Because as we grow into spiritual maturity, then we realize there's nothing outside of us, right? So whatever his father's, okay, so Bill's part in his claiming was done to him. In other words, he made a connection between his father's aggression. Now, we can carry that, and that is just to hide the fear of God. That's all it is. That's how simple Course in Miracles is. But why does Jesus give us all those words in it? Because the ego doesn't go down easily. And the ego it's not stronger than the will of God, not ever. However, it's learning too. It's learning to take its resistance, calm the system, and realize what we resist persists. And the death of the ego doesn't have to be, because I don't know if the ego ever dies while you're still in a body, but it thins out, and it balances. So Jesus' message is that we are responsible for our decisions. We are not responsible for the decisions others make, but we are most definitely responsible for the decision to let the decisions affect us. Our bodies or offices can indeed be affected, but never our minds. Bill's lament, how could he do this to me, was not a genuine question. Rather, it was a statement of victimization. How could you do this to me? And Jesus' answer was, he didn't. And that's what I was exhibiting like 18 years ago. But I was floored by it. But I'll tell you what, it was the magnet that kept me in A Course in Miracles. It was the magnet that I wanted freedom, that I wanted out. Because I mean, so much had happened. And I remember saying, well, God must hate me because look what he's done, blah, 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 blah. Well, we're not special here that God's trying to hate anyone. He's just Spirit is bringing us home to a place we never left and to realize we have a mistaken identity. So Bill's question, which he must ask himself very honestly, is whether he's willing to demonstrate that his parents have not hurt him. And isn't that our role as Course in Miracles students? Unless he is willing to do this, he has not forgiven them. This is a key theme in A Course in Miracles, where it goes to the heart of forgiveness. We forgive others by demonstrating our invulnerability to their attack. While other bodies may be vulnerable, we are not the body. What is required for this to work is to shift identification from body to the mind, from mindlessness to mindfulness. Indeed, people have hurt our bodies or bodies of loved ones. They might have hurt our bank accounts, houses, or cars, but they did not do this to us. Needless to say, this is the most difficult lesson for a child to learn. But A Course in Miracles is not written for children. However, it is written for spiritual children. It is only when we get older that we are able to say, finally, that carrying around burden of victimization and abuse is no longer worth it. What we resist persists, right? That is when we were able to lay it down. Going to the context of this message, Jesus is telling Bill that the problem with teaching his class goes back to the unforgiveness of his father and mother. Look how this belief has kept Bill back. He couldn't talk in front of people. He has a memory of feeling unworthy, right? In saying he's damaged and therefore cannot teach this class, Bill is really making an accusation. You did this to me because you preferred my sister to me, because you destroyed my manhood by destroying my first office. I cannot teach, and my vulnerability to your attacks is damning indictment of you. That is what we all do when we carry around our stories and tell them over and over. Here is the important sentence again to which we all relate. The many times that he has commented on this event alone would suggest the extreme importance of his misperception in his own distorted thinking. Be honest with yourself and see how many times you tell the story. Now, this is also fun because when I met Liz, she was telling me in the back of her mind, oh, good luck with this one. Because that's all I did was go on and on and on. And then I had a mantra that only God was real. And this is certainly a process. This is, from some, there have been absolute miracles where people have had an awakening and it just happened suddenly. And it's just because wholeness does what it does, right? It's waking us all up, the I am presence. Your boss comes down hard on you and you quickly tell everyone you can find. The more you tell your sad story, the better you feel, because you are strengthening the perception, really a misperception that you are a victim. And so we repeatedly regurgitate our terrible childhood experiences. Look, if I tell you right now how hard my mother was on me, then you'll love me? Or then you'll feel bad and you won't hurt me? Because isn't it so that there's always a belief in the mind that the other can hurt us when there really is no other? So, what Ken wants to repeat over and over is that we're not responsible for people, that anything that they do. Our responsibility is to take one thing. I rule the mind, and that alone I must rule. Now, Jesus shifts to therapy, in effect saying in this message that psychotherapy, teaching, and parenting are the same for all parties. On the level of form, of course, the respected roles are quite different. not to mention unequal. The right-minded purpose of all therapy, teaching, and parenting is to demonstrate that the inequality is temporary and illusory. You know how many times, I've heard people say, well, my father favored my sister or whatever it might be. And the truth is that that is not happening with anything but distorted perception. And, often, when I think about what A Course in Miracles does, and I listen to Keith say it's a rescue mission. Get the hell out of that mind because it's not there to make you happy, girl. That's truly what he's saying. Now, this is on a psychological note. Ken is saying, as a child, we cannot help seeing ourselves through parental eyes. Yet the problem is that we so often do not outgrow these perceptions. Yet Bill's parents misperceived him. But Bill held on to that misperception until he made it his own. And so Jesus asks him, all of us, to let go. There's no justification for holding on it to accept the desire to get as much ego mileage as possible from it. We are the innocent victims, and it is not our fault that our lives are such a mess, and we cannot adequately perform certain functions, if at all. It's so interesting. When you are a child, you really are at the mercy of adults, right? And, when I go to substitute, yesterday I was subbing in a classroom where they were emotionally or intellectually, it wasn't emotional, it was intellectual disability. So these were like kids that might have been like in junior high, high school, and they were just learning to count. Well, when I tell you, the fact that they don't have much of an ego is so obvious to me because the gentleness, the laughter, the kindness that they brought to my heart yesterday was so like it was a light. There was just all lightness. It was just oneness and light. And I was so happy to be with them, to have that honor. And I'm saying this right from my heart. Tomorrow I go to the other high school, and then Friday I go back to the other one for another special day. I shouldn't call it special because every day is a day. That means so much because there are no days. It's just perception. And when I want to do something by making myself helpful, I'm really talking to myself. When the Course is saying, basically, I'm here to be helpful. Yes, helping the mind wake up. So we want to keep it neutral. Neutrality is the way everything needs to be. So parents do not create the image of their children. And I think I read that last week. A child comes into the world with his self-image intact. One of the tremendous burdens parents labor under, unfortunately reinforced by psychologists, is that they're responsible for their children. This is the illusion children love to perpetuate, which is why when they grow up, they learn tunes about it. However, the fact of the matter is that children are born with fully developed egos. I exist, and it's your fault. And we've heard Ken say that. What I can say about Ken Wapnick is that he would always regard kindness as the highest way to handle life in this world. And this man, as a teacher, well, he didn't consider himself a teacher. He lectured, but he was quite a sage to me because he didn't even talk about being a guru to anyone. He didn't talk about awakening all the time to anyone. He just said, you want to be peaceful. And surely that's definitely an option, right? So parents, therefore, do not make the image, but they reinforce it. So we come in with these hateful egos, and our parents just reinforce it. And that's our work to do here. Parents do not create the image of their children, though they may perceive images which they do create. However, as we have stated already, you are not an image. If you side with image makers, you are merely being idolatrous. So that's a really good thing for me to just remember in this moment of now. To make myself crazy because there's an election going on is to make me be a spiritual infant. If I want to be a spiritual, mature being, then I take responsibility for all of the stuff that I see in this outside picture. This is all coming from within me, really. It says when we then invite everyone in our lives to join us in reinforcing the ego's message. At the end of the text, we read that the self has no concept or image of itself. And that's in text chapter 31. And we substitute the ego's idolatrous self of individuality for the pure self of Christ. Bill has no justification whatever for perpetuating any image of himself at all. He's not an image. This is true for all of us. We are not an image. We are not this idol we have adopted as a substitute for glorious self that God created. We substitute the idol for truth and then conveniently forget we have done so, making up a life in which we are born as helpless, innocent little things. Our parents' house now solely and denigrate the beautiful image of ourselves that God created is seemingly shot to hell by our parents who believe with the rest of the world that we are bodies. We have no recollection of any of this because we scripted a life in which we are born with an undeveloped brain that is incapable of doing this, leaving only the illusion that is our parents. And see, the brain is a simulation. So this simulation is happening without even trying. So when you really see if somebody's in the ego, and if it's a dark ego, you're not going to like it. Why? Because we, as one son, want to go back to love, return to love. So, we all, or I felt inadequate through my whole life, really, off and on. And that is all for me, once again. So, we believe we have an inadequate self, and we end up worshiping it. I can't give up my character. It's been me. It's been me for almost 70 years. And that is just not true. We are watching the movie. The movie is meaningless. He is not an image. Whatever is true of him is wholly benign. It is essential that he knows this about himself, but he cannot know it why he chooses to interpret it as vulnerable enough to be hurt. As long as we believe that people have power over us, past, present, and anticipated, we will never remember our true identity. And even that's happening by itself, right? Because the wholeness is just bringing us out of this dream. And when I talk about projection, I'm talking about the projection of even Sharon. That's just a character that I'm playing. From the ego's point of view, the beauty of the parent-child relationship is that there is almost universal agreement that parents at times do terrible things to children. This is the great myth. And even though we intellectually believe what A Course in Miracles says, this does not necessarily change our self-perception of the innocent, unfairly treated victim of our parental world and of the other authority figures in our life. So, I think the benefit is to listen to Doug Fishman. He always talks about being unfairly treated. And he always gives us the exact word it says in the Course. And, it's kind of like a gift to have Doug, who's so seasoned as one of my teachers. Of course, everybody's my teacher, really, because I'm all connected with everyone, completely connected. It's interconnection co-arising. Remember, Jesus is talking to psychologists, so he uses psychological language. Narcissism, based on the Greek myth of Narcissus who fell in love with his reflection in the water, is totally self-involvement, thinking only of oneself and one's need. This arrogance refers back to the idea that Bill chooses to interpret himself as vulnerable to the egos of others, as we all do. This is obviously narcissistic because everything then revolves around us. And this is not the truth. As a child, we want to have friends, we want them to like us, but why? Because we want our self-image to feel good. The other thing is thinking it's real, you know. So he's saying, we do not look at this objectively. Our parents had egos they projected, which had nothing to do with us. For egos want us to be the center of everyone's universe. You did this to me. And so we demand we be the center, and we are not. We feel justified. Where narcissism is usually a term reserved for certain people, Jesus' point be that we are all narcissistic because everything revolves around our perception. How about that one? So if I see a narcissist out there, because anytime I think I'm a body, I'm an hell. The body is made up of guilt. The body is going to die, right? So, Bill, your parents did misperceive you in many ways, but the ability to perceive was quite warped, and their misperception stood in the way of their knowledge. There is no reason why it should stand in the way of yours. There is no reason the warped perception of Bill's parents should stand in the way of his ability to perceive correctly and remember knowledge. Bill's certain way they were misperceiving him. This was his interpretation as a child. It was perfectly natural for him to feel hurt and unworthy as a result of the parental rejection. Yet Bill was no longer a child, and neither are we. So this is the thing. Like, we have a group now, ACIM Gather is a group that is supportive on every level. If we are having an ego problem, there is no judgment. There's just sweet Rafi teaching us to let go and what we're holding on to. For me, why would I worry about the election? Because I think I have control. Well, the first step is I'm powerless as a person, but your mind is not. The decision maker is not powered. The belief is dangerous to your perception and wholly destructive. Knowledge refers to ourself, Christ self. And it's really Christ self, God self, whatever you want to call it. The belief that people do things to us not only distorts our perception, but is destructive of the remembrance of our identity. In other words, okay, where did I put this? Knowledge refers to our Christ self. The belief that people do things to us not only distorts our perception, but is destructive of the remembrance of our identity. In other words, we will never know who we are if we keep doing that. But, my experience is that, the shifts that I've had have been really significant. So the truth is that wholeness will wake us up no matter what. But when we're living in this dream, the biggest desire for this mind is to have peace, inclusive peace about everything and everyone. And I do have that right here, right now. Even with friends, if you don't like someone, it's fine. But, you don't have to tell anybody that either. If we see people as people, we're not going to like anyone. That's just the way this rolls out, right? So he goes on, if we believe our parents abused us, and then he's saying, we will believe everyone else does as well. It is impossible to hold a belief about one person without generalizing it to everyone. Boy, that is really true. If we believe our parents abused us, we will believe everyone else does it as well. And that's truly the resistance of just being who we are. There's a part in my mind that will say, well, I can't just give up this dream, and there's an election going on, and what would my kids think? First of all, they're in their own dream. In my dream, the only desire, the only function is peace. You could say awakening, but, that's just the way I see awakening, and it's neutral as much as anything else. There's no goal. You don't need to wake up. You're already awake. The talking mind that's talking to itself is just that. Sometimes people say when you've been abused, you grow up being an abusive. Therefore, our past cannot have a deleterious effect on how we treat people who are subordinate to us. Whether we do it as a percent, a relative, or supervisor will not matter. Having made abuse real, we cannot help doing likewise. In subtle or not so subtle forms, we will abuse just as we believe we were abused. And what I did basically was more about my ex-husband. I mean, anything that I felt as a child that I didn't say, I said it to him. And, to forgive myself for the way angry I got is a natural thing to happen. I don't feel anything right now. Because the truth is, my ex-husband doesn't even know that this is a dream. Because I can tell you on the day we divorced, he was crying and so was I. Because, you see, that was just an indication that love never dies. And, when I got the course, I actually wrote him an email telling him that the love I had will never die. He thought I was weird. But here's the thing. I was just teaching me. I'm always teaching myself, right? Here's a good one. You still think that you must respond to their errors as if they were true. In other words, if I believe people are attacking me, I will believe I have to respond to the attacks, the attack defense cycle. If I feel guilty, I will attack you and inevitably believe you are going to attack me in return. I forget my first attack, perceive only yours, which justifies my need for defense. In my defenselessness, my safety lies. So we're going through a cycle here. Bill did not see that he wanted his parents to prefer his sister to him and father to destroy his office because he was unaware of these feelings. We know that is the case because we already pointed out he held on to the story by retelling, as we all do, justifying his reactions to what he perceived as his parents' rejections of him. And when you look at Bill Pepper's life, you really see that, first of all, he's a great demonstration of the evolving of the mind, right? And we're going to be reading his book now, so I'm going to stop. But I will say...
Karen had her hand up.
Oh, Karen? Oh, okay. I didn't know she was here. Okay. Karen, hi, love.
Hi, Sharon. Hi, Lynn. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I just was listening to you, and I don't know, about maybe a paragraph back, I was going to ask you to repeat the sentence. You said something about if you don't see it in everyone, or you don't think it about everybody, it's not real, or something like that.
Well, what I was basically saying is whatever I see out there, if I look at the form, I'm going to be in guilt. Because I'm not saying I don't see form, I do. But the essence is here. And I keep my eyes on the light because that's all that's really here. And that's the dramatic teaching of A Course in Miracles. This world is all light making all of this. And if I see like I don't like someone, it's okay to not like someone, but to hate someone, well, that's a normal thing for an ego. It really believes that hate is going to help them. So if I see it out there, it's in me. It's my mind. It's my darkness. So today, just for today, one day at a time or one moment, I just want to stay in grace and be with the light, training the mind to look through the light. Because the light is what we really are. I don't know if I can answer it, but I told Lynn when I got on here this morning, flood ourselves with the Course stuff today. Just flood me. So, anyway, Lynn's going to stop it. Now we're going to do the next thing is Bill Pepper, but I'm so glad you came. I love you, Karen. All right. Lynn, are you going to read the next one?
Yeah, but what we're going to do first is we're going to play a song, and then I'll switch over and we will go to the next.
I love what you said. What you wrote, Lynn. Yes, Karen and I discussed this a while ago, that story with my mom. You could cry for her. She had a really hard life, and I honor her today for everything that ever happened. I honor every part of my dream. And I can just honor a little bit more from the outside picture of a candidate that is not my choice.
Yeah.
And then there's a story. So there you go.
It's a story. And you know, look at your mom, and she had a life that was not her choice. And I can
No.
just imagine having a baby and not being able to even hold my child and being paralyzed. Oh my God, it must have been so horrible for her and so hard. And you know,
And
it
she went to another hospital. She went to, she had to go, it was in Philly. So she went to, I was in Jefferson and she had to go to PGH because it was worse than COVID, polio at the time. I don't know if it was worse than COVID, but
it
it
was
does have,
because it paralyzed people for life.
right.
And
And it came back in her 60s, by the way. She had awful, like she had to be in a wheelchair. So yeah. And the fact is that she had so much guilt. That's how her mind took it, that she couldn't be with her baby.
yep.
Karen, you have a question?
Go
Yeah.
ahead. Yeah, Karen, go ahead.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And I think what I don't know, I don't know how I'm going to word this, but you said that she didn't have a choice. And I think that what I'm learning is that we make the choice. And it depends, it's all on a belief. It's a belief. I do believe in, you know, this pre-birth planning thing. I really do believe that we wrote the script. It's the same thing. And we chose to come here and we chose this script. And what helped me, because I said, why did I choose such a difficult script? And we all have a difficult script in our own way.
Right. Sure.
And Robert Schwartz said, he said, those who chose very difficult scripts are very courageous souls. They're very courageous souls to come here to learn the lessons they came to learn. And that's why we wrote these difficult scripts, to learn the lessons. So I do believe that we chose these scripts. I don't know why. I said, why the hell would I want this? Like I would never think that I would choose this, but I did. I believe I did choose this. Not in a oh yeah, I want to go through all these painful things here. No, I don't think that was the reason. It was just because this is how was the best way for me to learn these lessons. As for your mom and all the lessons you learned, Sharon, through everything you've been through, you've come so far, you know, with recognizing that you see that it's not your mother's fault. It's not anyone's fault. And that it's always a decision that we make. So I think it's all for the learning. Thanks.
Thank you. And you know, to honor her is really where I'm at now, because I had a much easier script. I really did. Look where I am now. She didn't get this, so I honor her. And again, she could have picked it because, you know, there's you know, they talk about the Akasha records. So, you know, that's where you find, you know, have you read anything on the Akasha records, either one of you?
Oh gosh, yes. Yeah, I was really into Edgar Casey and such when I was a young teenager. And
Okay. Yeah.
that's even people told me they thought I was the reincarnation of Edgar Casey, which really, you know, I took that seriously for a very long time, but I was like 12 years old. And so, or, you know, no, 14. I was like 14 years old. So
I gravitated towards you because you're very kind. Kindness is the highest thing you can be in this world.
Yeah.
Kindness.
It is. It's all. All right. I'm going to
so I'm gonna eat something and I'm gonna stay on because this is our hour together. I'm gonna be here till 12:30 because we have an 11:30, whether we have a discussion. Like I think what you did last night, Lynn, was so therapeutic for everyone. You know, because what we want to do is join together in love.
Exactly. And this is my aim for the day. And Karen, do you have your hand up again, or? Okay.
She might have forgot.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm so.
That's okay.
No, I'm sorry.
Right. I just
All
want
right,
to
so Lynn or Karen can start and I'll get on. I'll just raise my hand.
Okay. I'm going to play this song and then I'll take off this YouTube and start the next one. So here we go. This is George Harrison reminding us of what to do.
Watch out now, take care.
That is not what we are here for. We that is not what we are here for. Just don't let the darkness come and take over any part of your heart and mind.